The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in various parts of the world. So thank you all for joining. This is Krishna Vedula from Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education, speaking to you from Hyderabad, India. And we have an amazing presentation for you today. Okay, this is from Coursera. Okay, we have a speaker who works for Coursera out of New Delhi in India. Sorabh serves as the skill transformation consultant at Coursera, and his passion is to enable students and young professionals to become future ready. He has worked in the higher education sector for the last 12 years. In addition, he has coached students and mentors and young professionals at Northwestern University in the United States, at Shiv Nadar University, Masters Union Business School, and Ahmedabad University in partnership with UC San Diego. So it's exciting. I think this is the new wave. I think with all this changes in technology, I think there'll be radical changes in how engineering education is delivered. And so we're excited to have Sorabh come in. And you're already the presenter. You just have to, click show my screen. Can you turn on your screen, or should I? Oh, hi, there he is. Okay, so I'm going to turn myself off. You just go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Krishna, for the wonderful introduction. And today we also have a very talented colleague of mine from Coursera, Stephanie. Stephanie is part of our marketing team. She's here to obviously shadow this conversation and also to help us with some Q&A. So feel free to put your questions in the chat window or Q&A section. And obviously we will have a very dedicated time towards the end of the conversation. So thank you so much. Greetings, everyone. So I'll just put my screen in the presentation mode. Just give me a second on that. So I believe you should be able to see my screen now. Let me reconfirm. Yeah, I can. Awesome. Great. All right. So from an agenda perspective, let me first put in the full presentation mode. From an agenda perspective, this is what we like to cover. We will be looking at how Coursera has responded to the COVID-19 impact, especially on the higher education sector. Then what are our learnings, and what are we learning from our clients across the globe in terms of how either whether it's the employers or it's the education institutions, how the jobs are going to get changed in the near-term future and obviously in the long-term future. And then we will have obviously a little bit section on what is Coursera for Campus, what are some other features. I know that many of us on this call probably may feel that Coursera is a content provider, but then there is more to it than what meets the eye. So I'll be speaking on those important features, functionalities which Coursera brings to your campus, as and when you choose to partner with Coursera in a paid partnership. And obviously, we will also speak a little bit more about how you can actually start testing out Coursera for your campus through a plan called Coursera for Campus Basic. And certainly we will have a Q&A. So I plan to take 30 to 35 minutes talking about what's happening in the world around us today. But before we go there, there is a poll question. So Dr. Vedula, if your team can help us with that poll question, and then we can. So this will help us. All right.
You can read it out.
Yep. Yeah. So I know that the audience can see the poll question now. So what's your institution's biggest challenge? It could be regarding student employability. It could be probably the way the costs have either escalated depending on region. I know that different regions have different way of managing cost and the way the cost impacts them. Then from a capacity perspective, how are you currently? Are you under capacity? Do you have over capacity and you would like to channelize it somewhere else, or is it faculty? Some of the challenges which surfaced especially in the last year, that could be on your mind, or is it about access of the quality content to your students? And this could also be how you're driving broader talent selection and diversity and inclusion. So that's, I know that there will be 35 seconds will take to address this. So take your time, and I will wait for Dr. Krishna's cue on, when we are ready for that.
Okay, we got most of them done. So here's the results.
Awesome. Very interesting. Thank you so much. So I think this is I was hoping for this kind of answer because I have done this poll many times. Student employability is certainly one area which a lot of us are currently concerned about. But while you think that student employability is one of the area which is probably top of your mind challenges as an institution you want to meet, but let's take a look at what are the other two important stakeholders in the higher education sector or domain, if you may, are thinking about. So I just was going through some news articles, and I thought that these are really important for us to just reflect upon. So the two most important stakeholders when we speak about student employability is A, employer, then B, the student himself or herself. Now, on the left-hand side, there are 3 news articles which I just culled out, and then on the right-hand side, there are 2 institutions I learned about obviously sometime in the past, but I thought that it's important for all of us to reflect upon. L&T, which is based out of India, it's a large conglomerate which is into power generation, infrastructure, cement manufacturing, and whatnot. Larsen & Toubro, as the name goes. Most recently, earlier this week, I read this in a English daily in India that they are launching online engineering courses. Why would, my question, as soon as I looked at this news article, my reflection was, or the question in my mind was, why would a for-profit company would like to venture into something which is not for profit? Now, if not many of you know, just for your reference, the higher education sector in India is not for profit by regulation. So why would L&T get into something like an online degree programs or an education business for that matter? Similarly, Reliance, this has been in the news for some time, but they started Geo University, and they will be starting enrolling students and rolling out the program starting this year from their campus near Mumbai in India. Why would a Reliance, which is again for-profit entity, will get into something like this? And then I also came across another global news, which is how Eric Schmidt is actually talking to the Congress. And in fact, I believe there has been preliminary node on, go ahead and set up a university which will funnel the tech workers to government work. Now, why would these people be interested in setting up educational institutions? So in my mind, when I read these news, is that one of the key reasons they would do that is because talent is becoming more and more important boardroom question. Now, they have been relying on the current existing higher education system, but for whatever reasons, probably they feel that there is a gap, and there will be a gap which will continue to exist. So it's important that they actually gain a little more control on how students actually get trained and then obviously channel into these organizations or similar organizations. So that's one reflection, what some of these stakeholders from employability perspective are looking at. And then on the right hand side, as I said, I would like to just bring your attention to Lambda School and Newton School. The 2 schools, Lambda is obviously based out of US, Newton is based out of India. How these 2 institutions, they are promising that we will not charge you any fees unless you are placed. So placement, employability has become really important factor for many students. And in my mind, even I'm an academic, as Dr. Krishna also mentioned, I teach for many universities in India and US. I think as all of us academics put together, we need to just reflect on this. What are some of the open spaces we have left for our student stakeholders and our employer stakeholders that these kind of business models have to come in? Is it something which we are not doing? So let's take a look at that. What my take on this is, and how Coursera would like to address that problem. And interestingly, while we spoke about the 3 key stakeholders, so you shared student employability as one of the key concern you have. Then we spoke about the 2 important stakeholders, from student employability perspective, the employer and the students. But then even these 2 parties, the 2 stakeholders, they have a disconnect in themselves. So this is a slide from PayScale's data, which talks about that, when they surveyed students across the globe, across disciplines, checking how confident do you feel that you are work ready when you graduate. 90% plus students came back and said, I got A plus or A grade or whichever grade your respective universities grant, that I'm work ready because I got A in economics or probably accounting or probably my Java programming course or probably my AI course. But then when the same question was asked to the employers, how confident do you feel that the students you're hiring, they are ready for the work? Less than 50% of managers agree that the students are really work ready, and these are global numbers. I know that if you're joining from India, there are many reports. I live in India, so I get to see a lot of these reports from different industry bodies and consulting companies, and the numbers are much lower in particularly in that case, especially for engineering students. So I know that there is a disconnect between the three key important stakeholders of higher education. So let's take a look at that. How Coursera can help you fill some of those gaps, and then bring more agility, more value to the degree programs which your students are currently enrolled in. All of this discussion warrants three important questions. What are the skills students need? So, if student employability is a concern, then what are the skills students should be acquiring? Well, and given that if the students are already at university, aren't they already upskilling? Yes, they are upskilling, but are they really skilling for the right job roles they are expected to have after the graduation? Then one thing for us to reflect upon: how are the academic programs are currently addressing those skills? We might be thinking that we are imparting those skills, but are we really imparting those skills? And then who determines that? It's something we all should reflect upon. And then how do we actually track that? While it's important to believe that we are imparting those skills, but then do we have, as academic, we believe in rigor, and we believe in data. So one thing we all should be reflecting upon is that how do we track and measure that students skills are being developed as per the employer expectations, or just for the job role specifically they are going to take up in the near future. From that perspective, I would like to share, to address the first question particularly, I would like to share these two reports. One is from Burning Glass and another is from EMSI, which talks about the skills which are needed to be successful in your jobs. I have worked for 14 years, and I usually talk about, when I talk to student communities, that if you think that you are learning for a particular job, the idea is yes, you are. But then if I look at the role currently I have at Coursera, neither the company nor the role existed when I was actually graduating in 2007. If that's true, then what skills I should be really learning? Well, functional skills and technical skills are really important, but I think in the last few years, and especially in 2020, one thing which has surfaced very significantly is the importance of foundational skills or soft skills, however you want to say that. It is the soft skills which will help you sustain, be successful in your career, rather than just focusing only on the functional skills. Now, don't get me wrong, functional skills are equally important, sometimes even more important, but then functional skills also come with a shelf life, while the foundational skills are required throughout your career. So different research reports talk about different skills, but I like these two reports, so I thought that I'll put this on this particular, I'll bring to this particular session. And on the right hand side, the circular image which you see is from Burning Glass Technologies, which beautifully puts across three broad categories: human skills, digital blocks, business enablers. Human skills are broadly what we call 21st century skills or foundational skills, depending on which report, which data we are, or which provider we are talking about. It's about communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, analytical skills. And interestingly, all of these skills are also mentioned in the job description of the students. Now, as of now, the way our academic structure works, as we all understand, all of these skills are expected to be baked into the academic curriculum already. But then it again begs the question that how are we tracking the performance of these students? Because when I talk to many of the career services across the globe, officers, directors, managers, and students involved, I learned that the key feedback they get from their recruiters is that students are either lacking in critical thinking or collaboration, or sometimes even analytical skills. And if I speak about the other two categories in this particular framework, business enablers, Absolutely, super important, because it is not just about understanding the data, but also about communicating the data. It's also about project management, because you may be technically the best person, but if you are not able to channelize the effort and make the project successful, I think we all lose. And I might be just repeating Steve Jobs when he said that it's not about your effort, it is about the result. Your customer doesn't care about, and in this case, customer is employer. Or it could be, if we are talking about from a person who is working, it could be their internal or external client, but it's not about your effort or your current knowledge. It's all about the result. So project management becomes a very important skill there, and then obviously digital. Now, on this particular section, I would like to share an anecdote from my personal experience. When I started working, I actually got trained on Excel for 3 months, and my company paid the full salary when I was under that orientation period. I don't think so. Today, companies are that flexible and willing to actually pay students to learn skills like Excel. Now, obviously, Excel was in demand those days, but today it would be Python. But do we really think that employers will actually spend 3 months' salary on your graduates just to learn Python? They're expected to do that. So burning glass technologies suggest that people should have, irrespective of your industry, irrespective of your career path, irrespective of your career stage, people should have comfort with working with some digital building blocks, which is your a little bit of programming, a little bit of your coding, and so on and so forth. So just something I brought to this discussion for all of us to reflect upon: what are skills and how are we tracking those skills? Then from a Coursera perspective, we have a great catalog. Currently, we have 4,700 plus courses, plus 1,250 plus guided projects, which obviously I'll speak a little bit more about this. Now, all of these courses which you have been divided across 11 broad disciplines, which can be used to either supplement your core curriculum, or they can be used to offer multidisciplinary or career specific skills, which obviously I'll speak about. But what we are learning, how many of our clients or partners are using Coursera across the globe. So they are using either for credit, which means that you can actually have your faculty's lecture time directed towards more research or industry readiness or casework on research side. And the credit can directly come from Coursera's core, or people are actually using this as more from a blended learning perspective as well. Because as much as I would say, and I welcome all of you actually to take a course if you have not already taken on Coursera. It's just that well, the courses have the academic rigor. It's just that our students are always a step ahead and they find a way to gamify. So we always suggest that it's interesting to see that how some of our Coursera for Campus partners are using it in a blended learning format, where a final exam is conducted by the institution while the learning happens on Coursera. And obviously a lot of multidisciplinary content. If somebody wants to take up IBM data science certification, maybe they are just mechanical engineers, they are included on the platform. If somebody is looking at probably learning a little more on business skills, because I believe that I am a mechanical engineer, but I'm going to set up my own business, or I might be a computer science engineer, but I'm going to work on business. So a little bit of knowledge on finances, how to manage finances, how to set up teams, how to set up offices. All of these domains are available for students to go through and learn and pick up the relevant skills on that to be successful. And why all of this is important, as we spoke about, there is a seemingly dissatisfaction with our employer stakeholders. There is also seemingly some sort of dissatisfaction with our student stakeholders from a placement perspective. But also, the 2020 great lockdown brought us to a situation where digitalization has accelerated, which means that many of the skills, especially in the computer science industry, will have shorter and shorter lifespan. And this is a World Economic Forum data which suggests that average shelf life of a functional skill may come down to as low as 2 years, and which also means that the another thing which they are focusing on is that many companies have started realizing that well, we have made a lot of investments in either collecting data, but we have not done a great job in mining those data. So digital skills are going to be in demand. So that's what we are picking up from the market. And when lockdown happened, so I would like to take a moment to walk all of us through how Coursera responded to that. as many of you might already used Coursera for coronavirus initiative. If you were not, then just for your reference and information, Coursera made its catalog available free to all the institutions which are impacted by the lockdown. So there was a great demand for online learning in 2020. And what that means going in future, because there were earlier, probably pre-2020, there were probably some questions on people's mind, including mine. I would say, is online learning really helping us learn the skills which we need to be successful? And 2020 gave us a resounding answer that yes, it can, because we just did not learn online. We also started working online, and what this session is one of the example, right? So if this is going to be successful, then obviously online learning is also, but also online learning differs in multiple forms and shapes. Let me speak a little bit more about Coursera's philosophy on online learning. So when Daphne Koller and Andrew Ng, they started Coursera in 2012, they didn't just started Coursera to stream courses. Their vision was much broader than that, and then we are still working to build on that particular vision, which is to help people learn the skills irrespective of their location, irrespective of their position in the society. They should just have access to content, they should have access to assessments, and we are focused on helping students build a mastery skills. It's not just about viewing some videos and then getting a certificate. It's about learning the skills. So we are a skills first online learning platform, and on the other side, but I said that anybody irrespective of their position in the society, probably you read the news, but I'm happy to share with all of you that now Coursera is a B corporation based out of US, which means that while we are for-profit company, but we also have other goals to take care of. So it is not just shareholders. So primacy is not given to shareholder maximization, value maximization only. So it is about society as well. And there are some 3,000 plus companies which are mission driven, but also for profit. So Coursera is one of them. So I'm very proud that we did that in 2020 with our academic institutions across the globe, and there were 75 million enrollments in 2020. We saw 65% year-on-year increase when compared to 2019 data. Just a little bit more data points on our coronavirus initiative. So there were 4,000 plus institutions which actually took advantage of that initiative. There were 2 million plus students which came on the platform for the first time, and then they took 19 million enrollments. So on an average, if you look at, there were approximately 9 courses taken by, on an average. Obviously, some students did more, some students less. And then from a workforce recovery, we also realized that people were affected, people lost jobs, unfortunately. And then how did we help those employees or workers who were displaced because of the lockdown situation? We rolled out workforce recovery initiative in April of 2020, and which was 70 plus countries accepted that, 1 million plus citizens took courses, and there were 8 million on an average enrollments, total enrollments on an average 8 per learner from a workforce recovery initiative. So that's the amount of work Coursera was able to help the either displaced workers or students who were actually not able to attend their regular classes. And the situation has slightly improved from last year, obviously, but a lot of decisions still need to be made that when the students will be back on campus. I know that some countries have started opening up, but then even if they open up completely, maybe sometime this year or next year, whenever the decision is taken, I think one thing which is now going to stay is we all have learned that online learning can be an effective tool, and in many ways, because many of our institution partners, what we come across, they are actually looking at launching new academic elective programs based on Coursera. Because one thing which many of the engineering colleges particularly are telling me is that sort of the technologies are changing very fast. The employer expectations are changing rapidly. So how do we actually go about launching electives or specializations for our students so that they can actually pick up those skills? And I think Coursera has come in a really handy tool for them to do those things, because otherwise you will have to go and look for some professors, either upskill, reskill, or hire a new one, or you will have to invest in content development. You will also have to start a new department altogether sometimes from a research perspective as well. But while you do that, you can use Coursera and continue to help your students achieve the skills which are required by your potential employers. So moving on, we spoke about this. Student employability certainly is one of the key item, which we come across when we have these conversations, or we have conversations with our current and potential clients. Cost management, some institutions look at it from as an effort to help their lecture time be focused more on research, which obviously helps them more from a capacity and cost management perspective. But also happy to share that there is a lot of content on Coursera, so it's not just for your students. We know that it's equally important for faculty to be enabled. So faculty development content is available for our faculty partners and academic teams, obviously, to access. And then obviously innovation, so that you actually spend more time on either writing and publishing more research, or doing more case studies, or just working on industry sponsored projects, so that there is more innovation at an institutional level. Then how students can actually launch their resilient careers with job-based skills. So some data for all of us to consider. This is again what we are picking up from various research reports published by consultants, World Economic Forum, and so on and so forth. Software development continue to be one of the largest crowd puller, but the roles are going to be probably slightly different than what has been the last decade or so. UI UX design becomes important. Software development in general certainly will be there. RPAs, robotic process automation or process automation in general, AI, ML, agile product management are going to be the needs for software development jobs. Cloud computing, obviously, given that we are all now sitting at home or at least remotely, and thanks to cloud computing for helping us be together. So obviously, networking, cloud architecture, cloud engineering, migration and storage, web services and API are some of the roles which will continue to grow, which is 23 million as predicted by World Economic Forum. Data analytics, as I said, there is a whole lot of data which has been collected by various industries. If you talk about retail, when I talk to clients from retail industry, they collect a lot of data, but then are they really applying and using that data for some decisions? For instance, it is easier said than done that AI ML can actually be used for, let's say, predicting your inventory management. So how well a job are we doing in actually applying these, analyzing these data and then coming to those decisions. Cybersecurity, absolutely. We all understand that there is data at rest, there is data in motion. Now, given that many of us are actually not at office, so which means there is a lot of data in motion. So encryption, cryptography, your pen testing, your vulnerability testing, all of these rules are becoming more and more important. So it is not just about, so we know that the data is actually in the air, if I may, and encryption is not the only solution. There are many things which need to be done, and then which means that if cybersecurity roles are going to be there, if 7 million is the predicted number, I personally believe that it might be higher than that. But then access management, cybersecurity, encryption, all of these skills will be certainly in demand, because this is going to stay. Our ability to work from remote locations is going to stay. We don't always have to be at work. And then obviously human skills. One of the feedback, as I said earlier as well, we get from our career services teams across partner institutions is that students are probably lacking in critical thinking, their ability to collaborate with others. All of these skills are going to be important. And I'm happy to share that we didn't actually ask anybody to write these reports, but we very happy to share that the content or the material or the lectures or the assessments which is required to build these skill sets are available on Coursera as a platform. So as I said, would be happy to share and invite all of you to actually test it out if you have not already. And the another important thing, given that Coursera is not only meant for our campus partners, but Coursera for Campus actually started in 2019 October. Prior to that, Coursera primarily focused working with business organizations across the globe, and there are 3,000 plus organizations we work with. Now, what that allows us, that we actually learn what different organizations by role, by department, they are learning on Coursera, because many organizations, probably your potential employers, are using Coursera to upskill their employees. Now, what are they learning? We can pull that information and create learning paths for your students. So when we talk about industry academia gap, I think this is one of the faster way to understand and fill that gap, that what is being taught at your potential employer's particular department or team, and then your students can actually start learning and building those skills while they're still at campus. So this allows all this data which we gather from our learners on the platform, allows us to create specific learning paths which can help students achieve a level of proficiency required to be successful in their jobs. Then there's just an example on that, business skills, tech skills, and data skills. So broadly, whenever you will come across a lot of reports published by Coursera, so we strongly believe that you just like burning glass technologies had building blocks, digital building blocks, you need to have human skills, you need to have your business enablers. Many of the reports published by Coursera will speak about business skills, tech skills, and data science skills by roles, by industries. So this is just one example that for engineering teams, it is not just important that they just have data science or tech skills, but it is equally important they have business skills as well. And if you are, let's say, if you are talking about mechanical engineers, I just don't want to make the conversation specific to computer science engineers, but if you're talking about electrical engineers, I think it's equally important they understand data science skills, for a simple reason. We are talking about smart cities, which are going to generate a lot of data. Then IoT. Even if you're a civil engineer, it's equally important that you understand IoT pretty well, because that's required to be successfully implementing your projects. Even for a mechanical engineer, if you are operating a machinery, then IoT becomes an important part of your entire ecosystem and workplace. Then this is our approach when we speak about that, how we can work with engineering students particularly. So there is the academic curriculum which they continue to. I think there is a lot of value in the current academic curriculum we have, because foundations, what a current academic curriculum can provide, may not be replaced by anything else. However, the employers are demanding something in addition to that. So can we have that topping, let's say, from Coursera, either by courses or by guided projects. Guided projects is like on Coursera platform, students will actually gain access to a virtual machine where they don't have to install any software, whether it is MATLAB, whether it is R, Python, or anything else, and depend on their local machine's capability from HPU, GPU perspective. They get access to a virtual machine in their browser itself, and then they are able to practice those tools, so that they are not just theoretically aware of the concepts, but they have also applied those skills. So that's where it ties off back to our mission, that it's not about just streaming content, it is about helping them build these skills. And then obviously once the two things have met, Coursera and your institution have met, we should be able to help our employers, a very important stakeholder in the entire journey of a student's academic journey, especially from a professional courses perspective. Some of the examples, I would leave you with, I'm sure you're probably already aware, but just wanted to share it and put it on this slide. From a computer science, cloud, big data, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence are some of the important roles which we are seeing and picking up. The students are being offered. Then electrical engineering, power systems, automotive electronics, integrated electronics, control and automation. Mechanical engineers, mechatronics is one. Then obviously IoT, digital manufacturing, additive manufacturing are some of the areas where mechanical engineers are currently working. And similarly for civil engineering, as I said, smart cities, IoTs, and how to do urban infrastructure management of sorts are some of the career skills, career paths we are looking at civil engineers taking up. Obviously, you can look at Coursera as a strategy for your digital transformation. We can be a very trusted partner with that, because we can help you understand what your potential employers are looking at, but also at the same time, we can also tell you that what other institutions are also doing that. Obviously, all of this data is masked and so on and so forth. But in general, given the whole quantum of data we have, we will be able to generate some insights out of that. What is the next skill which will help your students be more successful, get better employability. Then I know that just keeping tab on time, so I'll quickly run through some of these slides. This is a regular content which you have probably seen on Coursera. Is the triangle. We believe that your institution, your educator, your learner are very important stakeholders. And then, as I said, I will also add the fourth stakeholder, which is employer, and we will be able to help you bridge that gap through our essential skills map, which I spoke about some time ago. Then we've already spoken about this. 4,000 plus higher education institutions were served last year, and many of them have now become our paid partners, and some of them are considering moving to that stage. What are some of the top courses we learned in 2020? Just wanted to leave you with. People were really interested in understanding how to learn Python, and we saw students from all streams. Neural networks, deep learning, obviously, and just writing English. And then just understanding how Excel works, because and we saw a lot of our students, and not just working professionals, but students signing up for these courses, including faculty members. And then obviously these are some of the trending skills, are some of the broad areas where we saw people upskilling themselves in 2020, again with a focus on Coursera for Campus or student community in this case. Now, what are the popular courses on Coursera for Campus? But obviously, this data keeps changing. But as of today, based on our 2020 data, these are some of the courses by different domains. If you're interested in electrical engineering, then people who are learning electrical power systems, introduction to electronics, linear circuits. If you're from mechanical department, this is what students were learning. Either they were learning Autodesk, or they were learning just engineering mechanics, mechatronics, manufacturing processes, AI, ML, cloud computing, absolutely. And then certainly much more on data science and data analytics. I know that we also spoke about career skills, which are important. So there is a beautiful curations and content on Coursera, which allows students to pick up the skills which are required. The human skills, the foundational skills. And the interesting part is that when they learn on Coursera, you actually get a lot of data which can help you draw insights in terms of their level of proficiency. So the third question, which I said that how do we measure, Coursera can help you with that, because there are some very interesting dashboards our product team has created, and which will allow you to not just look at what they're learning, but also how much level of proficiency, which is benchmarked against and there is a logic behind how do we benchmark. And happy to spend additional time if you're interested. Reach out to our marketing team and we can set up some time. But then how they have actually beautifully curated how do we define intermediate proficiency or an advanced proficiency or a professional proficiency on various skills. This is an example of artificial intelligence. If somebody wants to learn artificial intelligence, there is a foundation. Let's say I'm a mechanical engineer, I have nothing to do with AI in general, but I'm interested, and your campus has Coursera, so they can just go to foundation. If it is of interest to them, they can move to electives, and then obviously there is industry experience, which is through project network, which, as I said, they gain access to virtual machines, wherein they don't have to worry about installing on their machine, but they access through a browser. This is just an example I wanted to leave you with, that if when you partner with Coursera, we will be able to help you customize learning paths based on our experience and your inputs in terms of what the student should be doing with the multiple exit and entry strategies, obviously in a learning path, when they are not just learning the functional core skills, but they're also learning career skills and multidisciplinary skills as well. And similarly, another example from a UX designer, and then very importantly, I know that many students want to do these programs, or many training placement offices, career services want their student to do these kind of certification programs, and they're all available as part of Coursera's catalog for campuses. Some are very interesting: IBM Data Science, IBM Applied Science. These are IBM. SAS, what you don't see probably here is Palo Alto. There is content from Palo Alto. Name a cloud provider, and there is a content authored by the provider on Coursera. SAS obviously is there. And then many more. There are currently 40 plus industry partners who author content on Coursera. So so your students are not just learning based on our data, but they're also learning from the potential employers because they have authored the content on our platform. Another feature, I know that in interest of time, I'll just focus on one computational labs here because we have spoken about content. Authoring is when you come into a paid partnership with Coursera, you get access to authoring, which allows you to create your own courses. So you can probably, if your institution is looking at either for internal consumption or to launch online certificate or degree programs for your exec or your alumni or anybody else. But computational lab, as I said, when you sign up with Coursera, we will be able to create Windows-based virtual machines, n number of them, and GPU, CPU, everything is taken care by that. So a part of your computational lab requirement can be taken care by Coursera's platform itself. And we spoke about many of the points already: hands-on learning and job-ready skills. This is how the content on Coursera is currently structured. So obviously the base of the pyramid, if I may say, is hands-on learning. Is a mission that we have to help students learn skills at a mastery level and not just at a cursory certificate level. So hands-on learning is a very important, crucial part of our whole strategy. There is a lot of content by disciplines which can be used to supplement, complement your current academic curriculum, which are the blue bars, vertical bars. But then obviously there is a lot of content which keeps coming on emerging technologies, and then obviously multidisciplinary and career. So when you work with Coursera, we will not just inundate with you with a 5,000 course list. We will work with you and create those learning journeys, as I just displayed a couple of slides back, that if somebody wants to be a cybersecurity analyst, what they should be learning based on our experience and your inputs and probably your recruiter's inputs. And this is an example of a guided project. If you were wondering that, how that look like, this is how. So on the right hand side, you see there is a recorded version. This could be synchronous or asynchronous. And on the left hand side, this is browser virtual machine which has been accessed through a browser, and student actually practices on the software real time. And similarly, we can do Coursera Labs. As I said, we can give you n number of Windows-based virtual machines. Then private authoring, we can, as I said, that if you are interested in launching some of your own programs, for internal consumption or for external, happy to have a conversation. Then, obviously, there is a lot of data which gets generated and a lot of AI algorithms which keep learning and then throwing out analysis and insights for us to see that, how we can help our students. And obviously, Coursera is mobile friendly. In fact, given that, we have varying internet speeds in different regions and different parts of the world, so students can actually download the content in the app itself. So it's app friendly, mobile friendly, and can be downloaded offline. Interestingly, it is not so if you are not from an English speaking part of the world, the courses are most of our top courses are, if you look at Spanish, there are 3,774. When I said that, the overall catalog is 4,700. So many of our courses are available in Spanish, Portuguese, French, and many more. If you see Arabic, Vietnamese, Italian, German, and so on and so forth. And this is a slide which summarizes that, what are some of the use cases. Many of our Coursera for Campus clients are looking at supplementing their current work, or they could be just letting the students apply, what are the tangential topics, if they want to just explore, and then obviously help them not just learn, but also quantify what are their human skills, what are their business enablers and digital, the survival skill set, as we spoke in the early stage of the conversation. And then they could be, just exploring something. For instance, if I'm interested in Python, I can go and try and say, did I like it? If yes, I go forward. Otherwise, I try something else. But which may not be the case because you might have a limit on number of students. Without Coursera, you might not have the case because you might have a limit on number of students, minimum number of students who should be there if they have to take an elective, or you have to probably call somebody from outside to teach that course. And then obviously increase in job readiness is one of the key criteria, as you also mentioned in the poll responses. There are a couple of slides. I know that, in case you're interested and happy to work with you, you can start testing Coursera for Campus Basic Plan, which allows your students, up to 20,000 students in your institution, free access to Coursera, which allows them to take one course per student per year. But guided projects from the limited catalog, they can take unlimited number of guided projects as they want, and you will have limited access to administrative dashboards and analytics to see that, how students are learning and what they are learning. and then limited plagiarism deterrence. While for paid customers, we have some third parties who do proctored examinations and so on and so forth also. But I think this is I believe that given that this is absolutely easy to integrate, absolutely free to use, it's worth trying what you can do with one course per student and guided projects. So you can start for free. You can use this. You can take a picture, scan it, and you can reach our website, and then that's pretty much I had to cover. Unless Stephanie, my colleague, Stephanie, you have something to add to that.
Amazing, fantastic, Sorabh. Stephanie, do you want to add anything?
No, I think Sorabh captured everything beautifully. Love to hear from the audience if you have any questions for us.
They'll start lining up questions, I'm sure. We have a whole bunch of people from different countries here. Come on, guys, look at the deal you have. 1 year course. Look at all the free stuff that Sorabh is giving you. And I'm pretty sure that Coursera has been around for a few years. I'm pretty sure that most of you have tried out some things with Coursera during the COVID period. Perhaps you can share your experiences and what concerns you have and how we can all collectively help you out. Okay, let's get started, folks. Waiting for your comments, questions. Let's see. I'm going to open up, see if this where the questions are. Okay. So let me start with a couple of things that I'd like to discuss myself, Sorabh. I think we have been working with engineering colleges all over India. I've been doing that for the last 10, 15 years. And all the things that you mentioned about the problems that are faced by the second and third tier colleges, engineering colleges in India, very common problems, and making them employable. That's and you give a very rosy picture, 50%. I think people in India say 20% are employable, right? And yeah, I know you're familiar with that. So so we're trying to help these colleges improve their students, the quality of the students. So what has been your experience with colleges in India? Because I noticed you're working with some colleges in India. So let's say, for example, Ahmedabad University or Shiv Nadar. Where have they, because those are leaders, and if they have shown certain things, and maybe the other colleges can follow their path, right? You want to comment on that?
No, absolutely, and thank you so much, Dr. Krishna, for asking that. So, Ahmedabad University, Shiv Nadar University, as you rightly pointed, they are leading in one way or the other in their respective domains. But and by the way, Shiv Nadar University is also a client of Coursera. So, so universities like them, they are looking at. So, what we talk in the corporate world, we talk about faster go-to-market strategy, right? So everyone is looking at launching a new product. Now, with the shelf life of our technical skills coming down significantly, I think universities are looking at, or they're leaning on into Coursera and say, can we have this content quickly coming in? We want to teach these skills. For instance, one of the university clients said, we want RPA, and we had that gladly, but if they had to start something on their own, it would have required them to either find a professor, get the content ready, then do 10 other things. So this is what Ahmedabad University and other universities' use cases. But coming to very specific question when you asked about engineering colleges which are not in the prime locations, or they don't have the resources like Ahmedabad University and Shiv Nadar University. So as we understand, and that's my data, happy to be corrected there, but 60 to 70% of our faculty members are lecturers. Now, so the reason I brought that data is, so there is probably a lack of depth to some extent, and then how do we help those faculty members with Coursera? So that's the use case I would look at for our engineering colleges in not so prime locations where they have access to employers, where they have access to other, and if you have to teach AI, let's say in Belgaum, I'm not sure. In Gurgaon it's easier because you can get somebody who has experience, but in Belgaum, how do you do that? So that's the use case I'm seeing with colleges not in the prime locations across India.
So we work with about 100 colleges. So how can we partner? Our Indo-Universal Collaboration in Education, and you're not too far away what would you recommend? And this could be something not just for India, but other countries as well, maybe Africa, might be South Latin America. There are, I mean, as Hans would say, we are working with lots and lots of engineering colleges all over the world, and they're struggling with exactly what you mentioned in the first few slides about the kind of skills they need. They need to keep up with the technical skills that are continuously changing, but they also have to develop the non-technical skills, business skills, soft skills, and it's such a challenge. I mean, I think that's is there an experiment that you're trying with X number of second, third tier colleges in India or somewhere that to see how to make this work? Some kind of a pilot or a model to do it with a group of colleges?
Absolutely, Dr. Krishna, happy to take that forward. I'll be happy to involve our account team into this. But first thing we might want to check is that if those campuses have used Coursera for a coronavirus initiative. If they have, great, then there is some groundwork which is already done. If they have not, happy to see how we can work together on that.
Let me ask questions to some of the audience here who probably knows me and from the colleges that we are working with. Have you used Coursera during the last year? All of you guys out there, how many of you have used Coursera so far? I mean, it's such a brand name. I'd be surprised if you guys haven't used Coursera in your colleges. So let's start chatting, guys. Come on, tell us a little bit about having used Coursera and your experiences in using Coursera. I would be surprised if you haven't used it. Okay, so some couple of questions are, of course, from the other disciplines like civil, mining, textile, chemical. Do you deal in those also? Those areas, non-CS type, non-circuit?
Absolutely. I know that the impression, which a lot of people have about Coursera at times is that, this is primarily data science, technology, computer science related. But then, as I said, there is content across 11 domains, civil engineering, mining, all of these. Because if you look at, one way is that, I can certainly give you content around your academic curriculum. But is that the only need our students have? Because if our academic curriculum was acing and helping our students get employable, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think it is the multidisciplinary skills, the career skills, that's the value addition, Coursera can certainly bring in. Because the job which our friends at various academic institutions are doing is fantastic and fabulous. It's just that industry probably needs a little more on top of that, as I said, from in that 3x3 slide, wherein you have your content plus you add Coursera on top of that, and these guys are now ready. The students are ready for work with their potential employers. So broadly, answer is yes. We have content across various domains, not just computer science. There is certainly content on. So from a use case perspective, as I said, we have NITIE as a client, NITI Mumbai. So they didn't buy just looking at our CS catalog. They bought because they have, they're industrial institution. If you look at mechanical engineering is super important for them.
Okay, so it's a question here about the AICTE. You're familiar with that in Delhi, right? So they're pushing very hard with all these futuristic skills, AI, robotics, Internet of Things, and so on. That every college in India should be teaching these courses. So you would think that they would jump on board with Coursera. So have you had some arrangements with the government of India to provide some of these courses to colleges? Is there something?
No, I may not be the best person to answer that, but I know that there would be some work going on, but happy to connect with our relevant team and person, because I'm not sure. But from as a personal level, if I can answer, should it be happening? Obviously, it should be happening because and I don't think so. We should be waiting for AICTE. We should be doing it because our employees are asking for it.
It should not be right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Let's see. edX. Somebody's talking about edX courses. How would you compare yourself with edX? What's that?
So edX is a great platform. They are so in my personal opinion, as an academic and not just as a Coursera employee, I love Coursera and edX for a reason, because both are multidisciplinary. Because there are many online learning platforms which have one or two focus areas, but it is edX and Coursera. But then what you get at Coursera from Coursera is this ability to create those learnings. So is it, as I said, while edX is doing a great job, but I believe currently where they are, that's my personal opinion again, is where they're giving access to content, but Coursera has become skills first. So we come in and help you create learning paths and, handhold your students, and then see that, how they are progressing, like skills dashboards for that matter, or professional certifications for that matter. So with due respect, obviously there are advantages to both, but now if I have to talk from a Coursera perspective, I can actually list 5 or 10 features which Coursera can bring to table, which probably others may not have.
Okay, question about the first year of engineering is always the biggest challenge, and what you have mentioned is artificial intelligence for all, for example. Okay, so can you recommend that in the first year level, everybody, I think there's a general feeling everybody should know what artificial intelligence is, just natural intelligence, and just build on it, and it's not rocket science. It's really something that can be learned at the first year level. So are there a set of courses that Coursera offers which have been popular with first year students in different parts of the world?
Absolutely, as you rightly pointed, AI for everybody, Python for everybody, all of these are very popular courses with first year students, absolutely, across engineering disciplines. And given that year 1 is common at many colleges, not all in my experience, but it's common for engineering students. So for first year, interestingly, this is without naming the client, I can share with you. So the use case over there is, they said that, Sorabh, we really want them to start working on their critical thinking skills. We want them to start working on their design thinking skills from year 1 itself, rather than waiting for year 3 when career services or training placement services will get involved. So what we are doing with them is, so we are doing a lot of activities. When somebody comes as a paid client, as I said, another feature of Coursera, there is a team called customer success team which gets involved. So they drive hackathons, so that it's not, as I said, it's not just about collecting certificates. It's about learning and then applying those skills. So can we have these interclass, inter-department competitions where people are showcasing the skills they have learned on Coursera? So that's the another service which Coursera brings to the table when you partner with Coursera.
I'd love to follow up with you personally about some of these things. We're running out of time. So Hans, come in, Hans.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Sorabh, excellent presentation. This is the first concrete element in the new partnership that IFES GDC has with Coursera, and working closely with Stephanie, and of course Krishna has done an excellent job in facilitating the conversation. Just a couple of very concrete points. Number 1, I want to introduce you. I'll follow up today, tomorrow. We have help from GDC Dean's Council in India, and I'm going to introduce you to 2 key leaders. So as Krishna follow up, and he will follow, knowing him, he'll follow up, and Stephanie per se. But Stephanie will introduce you and Sorabh to these other leaders in India. And I think that'd be very, very interested. We'll not only share the recording today and so forth, but personally, I'll make that you've mentioned, or we've mentioned in this conversation, Africa and Latin America. Your ability to communicate in Spanish and Portuguese, and I've already been in touch with colleagues in Argentina. We can be in Brazil. As we looked, and Stephanie and I have been in touch on that. I really want to encourage you. We can help you. And Africa. We have also several organizations and a Dean's Council in Africa that I work with closely, in touch with them on a daily basis. Again, I'll be working with Stephanie and other members of the Coursera to move that forward. Just a couple of final comments here is that I'm just really, of our participants today, we are celebrating working with UNITAR, the UN agency, Women's Engineering Day on March the 8th, and we'll be sharing that that announcement and the engagement in terms of looking critically at work that women leaders, primarily, also some men, have done at a global level, including in India and throughout the world. That's March the 8th. We're sharing that, very, very actively, per se, at a global level. I think the other thing, and working closely with Krishna and other leaders, the engagement of students, for example, Stephanie, let's brainstorm, and I'm working, with several, of our colleagues, how to engage students in this kind of dialogue. And we could identify potentially some student leaders, for example, not only in India, in Latin America, and also to engage in a critical dialogue per se. And we are very excited, Krishna and I and other friends and colleagues, to engage the students, not just to have the traditional top-down, presentations, but engage students in creative ways. That's the final thing. I just put it on, and remembering, the artistic touch, Stephanie, of cello, that you've mentioned. I want to just to all of us our attention, the global GDC industry forum in Germany this September. And that's basically for deans, academic leaders, and our corporate colleagues. And then in November, this will all be hybrid and virtual in Madrid, Spain, that I hope to see very much Coursera engaged, our community in India and globally engaged, students, faculty members, corporate, and others per se. These are all dates. We'll be in close touch with them, with all of you to share further details per se. This is a wonderful first concrete example of our partnership, Stephanie. Thank you for facilitating Sorabh's presentation here for us, and thank you kindly, and peace be with all of you, and above all, stay healthy and your families. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody,
Thank
and good
you,
night,
everyone.
good morning, good afternoon.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having us.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.